With just 3 weeks until Election Day, Donald Trump continues to claim, without any evidence, that the whole thing is rigged in favor of Hillary Clinton.
Instead of being held accountable, Hillary is running for president in what looks like to many people a totally rigged election. The election is being rigged by corrupt media pushing false allegations and outright lies in an effort to elect Hillary Clinton president. But we are going to stop it. We are not going to back down. False stories, all made up, lies, lies. No witnesses, no nothing, all big lies.
The Republican nominee also sent a series of tweets on Sunday claiming the media is coordinating with Clinton to take him down by publishing stories about his alleged sexual assaults, incidents he says never happened. This all comes as new polls showed Trump losing support in key battleground states. Joining me now to sift through Trump's claims is CBS News digital journalist Sopan Debs. Sopan, thank you so much for being with us today. I want to talk about this morning. Donald Trump actually fired off a tweet now about voter fraud, saying, quote, "Of course, there is large-scale voter fraud happening on and before Election Day. Why do Republican leaders deny what is going on? So naive." So why is Donald Trump changing his rhetoric now, and do you think it's going to work?
Well, I wouldn't say that he's changing his rhetoric. He's tweaking it. For the impetus for his candidacy for months has been the system is rigged. I'm running against the rigged system. And now he's changing it to the election is rigged. And it's not just him. His surrogates are out there saying the same thing. So it's a little bit different, but it's someone in the Washington Post wrote last night that this is the Breitbart election, because if you go to Breitbart, you see a lot of that type of rhetoric that we're rigged, that the election is being stolen, that there's widespread voter fraud, which, as you just mentioned, is totally without evidence. In terms of why he's going after Republicans, remember,
well, that's the new part, right? Is that he's actually going after members of his own party now.
Well, he's been going after Republicans that haven't endorsed him for weeks and months. But the funny thing is about him going after Paul Ryan and Republican leadership is that they've all endorsed him. They also support him. Now, Paul Ryan has said, hey, we're not going to campaign together and I'm not going to defend him, but I'm still going to support him. So it might be a little bit misplaced, but the fact of the matter is Donald Trump will go after anyone who doesn't support him, who isn't full-throated supported him. So, I think it's mostly the fact that Paul Ryan, after these Access Hollywood tapes came out, kind of said, okay, I can't defend this anymore. And that's where this is really coming from.
And Donald Trump's talked about the media rigging the system in the past, but it seems like he has really ramped up the rhetoric on that now, too, and is really going after the media. Can you tell us about that, especially following this campaign, being on the road?
Absolutely. Look, now Donald Trump is saying in speeches that this is a global conspiracy. The media is in on it. His own party's leadership is in on it. Obviously, Hillary Clinton is in on it. Last week he said Carlos Slim, a Mexican billionaire who is a shareholder of the New York Times, is in on it. The polls are rigged. Everything under the sun is rigged to keep him from becoming president because he is, from outside the system.
So how is the crowd reacting when he uses that and starts talking about the media and going after the media?
Well, the crowd has booed the media at Trump rallies going back, a year and a half. That's just part of the gig. But has the vitriol been upped a little bit? Yeah, that's definitely the case. But remember, Donald Trump supporters are very passionate, and they turn out in large droves at these rallies, and they're kind of like concerts. They love being there, and they love hearing what he has to say. So when he's saying this stuff, they're applauding. They are 100% in agreement with him that the system is rigged, and the election is rigged, and the media is rigged. Everyone that has non-full-throated support of Donald Trump is in essence rigged and kind of in on it.
We're just a few weeks away now from Election Day. It's hard to believe. You've been following since day one. How have you seen how he talks to these rallies and these crowds? How has it changed throughout the months? And in these last few weeks, how do you think it may change?
Well, it's an interesting question because, he's been campaigning now for about a year and a half, let's say, give or take. And what has happened is, he went 8 months in the primaries, going off prompter, going on wild tangents and speech after speech after speech. And then a couple campaign managers later, Kellyanne Conway took over and Steve Bannon took over, and suddenly he's on prompter. But even when he's on prompter, he's, going off message a little bit, But in the last couple of weeks, he's been going off prompter. Even though the teleprompter's up, he's been, kind of veering off the prepared text a lot more. And which is kind of interesting. Remember last week he tweeted, the shackles are off me. And he's kind of, going scorched earth. Anyone who he feels, is keeping him from getting the election, he's going scorched earth on that, whether that's Paul Ryan, Hillary Clinton, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the media in the back of the room. I expect that the rhetoric to be ratcheted up in the next couple weeks. It'll be interesting to watch for sure. But I expect it to be more of the scorched earth campaigning rather than the big tent campaigning that a lot of Republicans thought Donald Trump would need to do to win the general election.
It's fascinating. Just a few weeks ago. Sopan Deb, thank you so much for being with us. Now get back out on the road. We need you out there.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks.